Hey guys, I'm finally back on here for my, I guess, closure video of hitchhiking around Australia, raising awareness for truckie nutrition or lack of, and the connection nutrition has with mental health and you know, all of the adversities, I guess, that truck drivers are up against, not only in Australia but in all over the world. And I actually work with truck drivers in 6 different countries with their nutrition, and so I know a lot of you have already been following me for the journey, a lot more than when I started by the time I ended. But for those of you who this is your first video that you've seen, I went for 3 weeks to the day, and at the beginning of hitchhiking around Australia, I actually had no idea how long it would take. But 3 weeks and 1 day was my daughter's 8th birthday. So how it actually went to plan, and I got back on the exact day without panicking, without rushing, without cutting corners or changing the plan was remarkable, to be honest, because, you know, who knows, if one truck hadn't have said yes to taking me and I had to stay an extra night somewhere out there, then I actually would have arrived a day later. So it was a miracle on its own. But I have been back for a couple of days now, and I spent that time with Valentina, and we shopped for a whole day. So, and I literally walked into her excitement, her missing mum, and thousands of messages and notifications on social media and radio interview and podcast, and just busy. So pardon me for you having to wait. And I know I've been downtown where I live and ran into people, and there's been some, you know, those questions, how long did it take and was it fun? And so I thought I'll just answer everybody and give you a conclusion, sort of a chat to let you know how it went. And the big question, would I ever do it again? And yes, I would. I absolutely had a ball out there, and I said a lot in my post, it's not my first rodeo. Don't try this at home. And I absolutely mean that. I have had a couple of messages of tips on hitchhiking, and I have one tip on hitchhiking. It's the same tip as before I went around Australia doing what I did, and that is don't hitchhike. You know, I am 46 years old and have traveled the world, or a lot of it anyway, and a lot on my own, and have a little bit of a gangster in me. So please don't try this at home. And, you know, I was told by so many truck drivers, you know, I've never in 20 years, 15 years, however long they've been trucking, picked up a hitchhiker. And I, of course, said, well, why was I so different? And they all said the exact same response, and that was, I'm not sure. I think it was a hat. So I'm wearing my hat. I know I'm inside, but I'm wearing my hat. I thought I'll do my last video complete in my actual uniform, which I wore and always wear when I'm in the outback, and that is my cowgirl boots and my hat. You know, there's plenty of snakes out there, and I don't go anywhere without my boots on and my hat. And I am actually a horse rider. It's not just for costume, but this is how I roll. So, and there was plenty of times I was walking on the side of the road for a couple of kilometers with all my bags and my boots and my big hat to keep the sun off me. After having melanoma taken off last year, I do not fry in the sun. But anyway, let's talk about how I did what I did and why I did what I did. And 21 beautiful hearted truck drivers said yes to helping me out on my quest to travel this country, to talk to truckies about nutrition, or the lack of, and the fact that it's not actually the service station or the roadhouse's fault or their responsibility to keep our truckies healthy, and try to reverse some of these symptoms that we actually see consistent throughout the trucking industry. I see a lot of indigestion, a lot of irritable bowel, a lot of diabetes, of course, and swollen joints, and that hot, angry acid that I consistently talk about in my stories and in my private group, which is called Guts, Grit and Lipstick. I'll put a link actually in this if you want to jump in there and see a little bit more about what I do and the passion that I have in reversing some of these symptoms and helping give advice on what it actually is that causes these things that sometimes are, you know, no fault of the truckies, or no fault of theirs, but when you do drop the ball in those first few years of truck driving, it's then once that fatigue starts, and once that wear and tear starts, and once the stress and all those other free radicals that are contributing factors start to add up, then you get tired, then you have to get to the other end of your trip. Then you start adding stimulants, Coke, fizzy drinks, those sports and those energy drinks, etc. And then you're in a whole new realm of, you know, those, again, hot, angry, acidic ailments that start to consume you and be the boss of your body, instead of good quality bacteria with an alkaline environment, which enables that duplication of bacteria, which produces serotonin. Those of you who watch my stuff, you should know these words off by heart by now. Produces serotonin, which is a feel-good chemical that goes to the brain. So not only can you get your body back and the control of it and your body working for you, but you can actually feel better as a result mentally. And Lord knows we all could do with a little bit of that any day of the week, because that's why we do what we do. Breathe, get up, is to feel good and to chase that feel good feeling, complete those goals, get to our end of our destination safely and well, with a little bit more in the tank when we get home to our kids and family and, you know, our other lives, instead of sleeping on those days off that you get, or your 7 hours or whatever it is, in a complete fatigue state. So chatting to truckies about that, and not only that, but I've learned all about trucks, and I did have a bit of an idea about trucks before I went on this 3 weeks, but certainly not to the extent that I know now. I know which trucks are bouncy. You do too. I know any of you truck drivers. I know which ones are smooth. I know which ones has more room. I know which one, you know, I knew what I wanted by the end of it. Trust me. Halfway through I thought, or a week in, I thought, okay, I better start to learn a little bit more about trucks, because it could come across as ignorant. You know, I'm traveling Australia in trucks, and my passion is to fix broken things, which is how I ended up in the transport industry. Not to say that you guys are broken, but it has been an amazing experience being able to do what I do and help in an industry that, quite frankly, hasn't had, I don't believe, in my opinion, a whole lot of light shone on it in a positive manner, as in the nurture and care of the people that keep our country running. So as I said, by the end of the first week, I'd have messages like, oh yeah, I saw the video that you did in the 9.0 the other day, and I'm like, oh, what colour is that one? So by the end, yes, I know what a 9.0 is, and yes, I know what a cab over is, and you know, all of those things. I've seen some tyres changed. I've helped load bulls at 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't know if you saw that video. I know I did that video inside my private group, but I do know my way around cattle. But I did jump some railings at the sales yard doing that, and I had so much fun. So many stories. I've got a little folder in there where I've documented every single driver and how many years they've been driving for. Was dad a driver? And majority of drivers had their dad drive, and they learned to drive on dad's knee, and like myself, drive my dad's horse truck when we weren't supposed to a lot. And that's how you guys and ladies, I didn't find one lady out there either, which was disappointing, but I know I do have lots of support from female drivers in my social media that always check in with me. And I did try. I was in WA, and I have a friend there, and you know, all sorts of places, but we didn't connect. And I wanted to thank not only the drivers who know who they are, all 21 of you, but also the abundance of truck drivers that I still have never met, that have been following me on social media, that would also from, well, I have met Dennis. Dennis is from Port Hedland, larger than life. Hi, Dennis. He tried to arrange, you know, a driver going into Perth, and then my Perth friend also tried to, who I've never met either, he tried to find me, or did find me, a lift from, I don't know, somewhere around Port Augusta or on the Stuart Highway. I've got it all confused where I was, which highway it was. But I thank you guys too, because you really saved me sometimes when it was right, just coming into the evening and I'm still at the roadhouse and I think, well, I check in with the motel, or will I give it one more hour, and then saved by the bell. More often than not, I was. So I'm so grateful. I have so many friends in this country, and I really, really would love, or do love, the thought of moving, and particularly interstate with my daughter and I. And I know now for sure that I won't have any trouble moving my house. I was thinking that on the way around. I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be easy. I know lots of truckies now in the country, and I have clients in every single state and territory in Australia already, and an abundance more since I started. So I thank you for, one, taking the chance to listen to new information, and also taking the chance to trust me and all the clients that you've seen that I work with previously, and their testimonials and their videos that I share in my content, because there's so much information out there of how to feel better and how to change your circumstances and situations. And I think when you hear something that you resonate to, then go with it. Go with your gut feeling. Everybody's body is different, but there's one thing that I see consistently in the trucking industry, and that's you guys, absolutely 99% of you are obsessed with keeping those grasshoppers, particularly across the Nullarbor right now where there's a plague, off your trucks. They're clean, the cabs are clean, you've got your shine on, and you are always making sure that your truck is in SMIC condition and servicing it. And without the driver, the truck is never going to do what it's designed to do. So just servicing yourselves can be easier than having a holiday in the Bahamas, I promise you, with a few simple tweaks and removing those allergenics for 30 days and putting in some good fuel like we actually do with our trucks, and resetting and rebooting and rebalancing that digestive system, and get some duplication of that positive gut bacteria. Not rocket science, it's so easy, which again is why I love this vehicle in which I achieve that with. Of course, results vary for everyone, and legally I have to say that's the disclaimer. Results vary for everybody, but luckily there's a money back guarantee, which I haven't had to use yet. So, sing out if you'd like any more information on that. What else can I tell you? I'll tell you where I went first. So I start, of course, in the Hunter Valley where I am today. That's where my beautiful home is. And I went north with the full intention to go up through Emerald, where I have lovely friends and clients, but Emerald and then Isa and then up to the top end. But I was at Goondiwindi for hours, and I had clients going across to Perth from Brisbane, like one after the other, and then it was 9:30 p.m. or something. Was it day one? Day two. I was already on day two, and I thought, I'm jumping in with Cam, and Cam will watch this video. He is one of my very, very dear friends. I met him at Little Taupo last August, and he has been, working with me ever since. And he dropped, so we drove all night in an S-line with the windows down, no aircon. Cam is a legend. He is tough as nails. And so we went to Cobar, and then it was 7 o'clock in the morning. Cam had to have his sleep, and so I walked into the roadhouse, and another fella walked in and said, "Hey Trace, weren't you in Queensland yesterday going to Darwin?" And I said, "Yes, change of plans. How do I know you?" He said, "I don't know, they were talking about some girl hitchhiking with a big hat that wanted to go to Darwin yesterday, and I'm assuming that's you." And I said, "Yes, it is." And he said, "Well, I'm going to Little Taupo, want to come?" So, and that was the start of it. So that was day two. We went to Broken Hill, which you guys have seen me in Broken Hill so many times, it's not funny. I love it there. Then across the border into SA, Port Augusta, right up the Stewart Highway to Katherine. Then the cyclone created a hell of a lot of rain, and I really know that road well, between Katherine and Port Hedland, or that first 200 Ks there to, what's it called? Timber Creek. And so I met a driver at 6 p.m. and he said, "Yep, we can go across there, I'll take you, no problem, but I'm going to sleep tonight and then we'll go in the morning. And I said, no, we can't. We've got to go tonight. He'd never been across that area before. We've got to go tonight because that road's going to be closed and it could be days that the water's coming up. So he agreed, and I give him a little nudge. And so for 200 kilometers, there was water on the road. It was so hectic. The water was right up over the cab over that we were in, and there was crocodiles on the causeway, all sorts of things. It was a little bit hairy for both of us, pouring, could hardly see in front of us, but we did make it, and we got there at I think 10 o'clock, and at midnight that road was closed for 4 days. So he thanked me for that, and I thanked him because I would have missed Valentina's birthday in hindsight if we didn't get across there. So then we went across to Port Hedland to through Oski and a little bit inland, Perth. Miss Karratha next time. I love Karratha's photography potential. Down to Kalgoorlie, across the Nullarbor, up through Broken Hill, and then and then I went from SA to Cobar overnight, which I think was about 8 hours. With a young fella, 26-year-old, driving Dad's original 604, 904. Was it 906? Anyway, you guys correct me on that. It was the green one. I know you guys know all your trucks and remember the videos and the truck drivers in my content. But anyway, he was a one owner driver and it had 4.5 million Ks on the clock. Incredible. So we went all night in that, and then I jumped in with a truck driver who was actually on his very first trip and couldn't actually change the gears on his truck, and quite forthcoming with that information after I got in. That was pretty cool. Anyway, so I messaged my friend Josh from where I live, who was in, glad you made it home. Of course I made it home. So I messaged my friend, I think it was 8 o'clock in the morning, the very first truck that I was in, and said, where are you? Because I know he runs cattle in that Hunter Valley, top of New South Wales area. Where are you? Because I'm in a truck, and explained, what was going on, and we were sort of we had a little bit of play in the wheel kind of thing. And he said, make sure you go through such and such. So he cut across on his trip, and I jumped off abandoned ship, and I could have, then we started to head north again, and I could have actually jumped on another truck and gone south, but I said to him, you know what, I don't care where you go today, you're my last truck. I haven't got one more hitchhike in me, because we travelled all night the night before, I had no sleep and no shower. And anyway, so we delivered cattle at Dubbo, I think, somewhere there, and then we had to pick up another load, which wasn't the original intention, and in the middle of, he was supposed to pick up another load the next morning, which would have been Valentina's day before her birthday, and so he asked, could I pick that up tonight, and that was approved. So we get there at about midnight to the sale yards in Armidale. So I ended up at Armidale, which is way past the direction I was going. It was way north, and we finished loading. I think we had 8 bulls, 19 cows and calves, mixed group of steers. Like, I'm talking so many. So we had to get some bulls off the crates because we had 4 decks, which is 2 trailers, and we had to split them, and there was lights, but very small amount of light. Let's just say my cowgirl boots went in the bottom of the truck when we left, and we finished loading cattle at 1:30 a.m. and I was home at 7 o'clock in the morning on Friday morning, and Valentina had the day off school before her birthday the next day. So there's a roundabout information of how the trip around Australia went. Question of would I do it again? Absolutely. I'd really love to do Victoria and Tasmania at some stage. My daughter probably won't let me go anywhere without her for a little while, so it definitely won't be next week. I learned so much about not just truck drivers' endurance, but even more than I understood about the community of the transport community in Australia. And there's so many thousands of truck drivers out there but such a small community where they know each other or someone that knows someone. They are so tightly knit in a lot of ways. Believe you me, some of them don't get on as well, like anything. But what really surprises me is the lack of support that they actually have from, I think, the government. And you know, they can go 400 kilometers or longer without another roadhouse and no toilets on the side of the roads, and in some states not even a garbage bin in their parking bays or where they pull into, and their logbooks depending on each state. And I know how to fill out a logbook now. I know which states are the most critical, you know, the most lax, and South Australia is the most strict with logbooks, and the logbook filling out and the times and restrictions and what the requirements are really aren't made for truck drivers. I'll just say that. It really makes a lot of their work really difficult. It has made things on the road safer, no doubt, in the long run, but it's really hard for them to actually manipulate it and line it up with their stops. So they've got a really tough time, particularly the fellas that, like me, are a bit dyslexic or find that technical information really hard to work out, how many hours they've been here, how many hours they've been there. And the trucking industry lost a lot of really good truck drivers over that transformation from, you know, no logbook to the severity of how the logbook is today, which I found that interesting. And also the showers. I mean, doctors and nurses keep this country and other countries, the world, well, right? Save people's lives and look after us when we're sick. But truck drivers keep us clothed, fed, our homes, everything that we build with. Everything is transported on the roads of our countries in truck drivers, and yet they're not considered, I don't think, with their showers, their overnight facilities. And a lot of truck drivers hate a lot of road house showers, and I never went in any of them. I was in truckie lounges every roadhouse, but they certainly know where to have a shower and where not to have a shower. And some of the stories, in fact, most of the men wouldn't even tell me what the state of them were like. They couldn't even speak of showers, and to not have those things supplied to them for what they actually do for us, I find to be a matter of conversation, quite frankly, because they work really hard, and to not be able to have those facilities or that consideration that they're important for us to keep us actually running blows my mind. And I'm sure in truckie forums, I'm sure it's been brought up before, and you know, I'm not in any of those conversations, and I haven't been a truck driver's wife or any of those things to know if that's a common argument or not. But for me, I was very surprised that they have to rough it so much. They really have to rough it. Some don't mind, don't get me wrong. Some truckies are fine with roughing it, but I don't know. I think they deserve a garbage bin in their bays, and I do think that they deserve a water tank and a toilet. And some states do, but some states do not. You know, WA, you can go miles without a garbage bin, days without a garbage bin on the side of the road, and just the little things. My family all drive trucks. Yeah, and I'm sure that I think they just get used to the lack of facilities. They get used to blaming the roadhouses, and you know, there's a real trend at the moment for roadhouses to have Indian food, and Indian food is great if you have Indian bacteria, which has been digesting and using those particular herbs and spices and consistency to actually fuel bodies. And different ethnic cultures have different gut bacteria, and that's handed down in those first hour or those first 2 hours after you've been born from your parents or whoever kisses and hugs you, right? So for us, or for truck drivers, to be out there with food primarily produced for Indian gut bacteria, as I say, you know, it doesn't have the best effect on those who are born without that handed down. So gut bacteria is so bloody important, but it's not the responsibility of the roadhouse to, you know, oh, we've got to produce salad, and we've got to produce this and that, because we owe the truck drivers. They don't. But having some facilities actually put in place by the government, if they found truck drivers important, which they, you know, without them we would be all stuffed. They didn't even blink when this pandemic was on. They never restricted truck drivers, because if they did, well, we would have been in all sorts of world of hurt out there, and you know, bad luck if you haven't got a toilet to go to. We don't even give them a toilet for 400 or 500 kilometers more and more. So yeah, it really pays to be organized as a truck driver with your food. I was given advice by some truck drivers on nutrition, and from some people that really didn't have a good understanding of what they actually even look like in the mirror, their body shape, their lymphatic congestion here and stuff. So I really hope that leaving my daughter for 3 weeks, and my boy and my 3 sausage dogs that they're at the window there looking at me wondering who the hell I'm talking to, made a difference in just a few lives out there, and shed a little bit of light on the fact that you don't have to blame anyone. You just have to get organized, make a few really small changes that are simple, look after your body even half as good as you look after that damn truck, and you may not become a statistic. And I think every truck driver knows another truck driver that died young through health issues that are consistent. You know, if you asked all your truckie friends and your truckie ancestors and your uncle and your dad and all that, how many truck drivers, you know, that they know died young when they shouldn't have, and what those actual reasons were, that there will be a really consistent thing to actually look at. So I had fun. I'm not going to do it again in a hurry. And please don't try this at home. And thank you so much for your support. I know there's still messages there that are unanswered. There was like 50, 60 inboxes an absolute every day. You were killing me out there. And since I've been home, but I will endeavor to get back to every single one of you with nutrition questions, and hope that I can help every single one of you over the next coming months get started if you are interested in those tweaks that I'm talking about. Save home, many truckers don't make it home. Yep, that's true too. Absolutely. I was lucky enough to get around that whole country without seeing anything, you know, that I wasn't comfortable seeing, no mishaps on the road, and I wasn't in a truck that actually contributed to roadkill either. We had a really close near miss in Jerome's truck, actually. Jerome did a video with me with a big emu. The first emu went across, and then the second emu was just about squashed, and he went like that on the road, like Roadrunner, and hit the skids and hit his bum on the dirt and then took off. So I'm so pleased I didn't have to go through that day. But yeah, I've got lots and lots of stories, and not time to tell you everything, but let's just say that it has been one of the most incredible decisions I've made. With a week's notice I gave myself, which is typical Tracy. Yeah, you know what, I might hitchhike around Australia. I really want to get to help more people, help more truckies stay out on the road in a healthier manner, and I pulled it off. Thanks to you guys for your support. Mwah. See ya.